Hello guys, it's Mungai Eve. Welcome to the Mungai Eve Show. And of course, you're the number one online TV show. And guys, today I'm having an amazing guest. I know most of you are familiar with his face. He has graced our TVs, our screens for a while until akapotea kidogo. But right now, he's back. It's been a few months since amerudi na tumekuwa tukimuona, and I thought of looking for him tupige story kidogo, tujue kuliendaje, life inampelekaje, tunaona akona show mpya, Anyway guys, I'm having Kimani Mbugua. Anyway, Kimani, uko vipi?
That was one take. Oh my god, you're such a natural. I love the way you've grown. And then that was so impressive.
Thank
We're not
you.
even doing two takes here.
We don't. Here we just one take, tunaenda tukiendanga. How are you?
Natural legend. Thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, you're looking amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Good to see you too. Kimani, of course tumekuwa tukiona story kwa mtandao. I think a month ago about
More than a month now.
No.
Time is flying. I'm like, it's
This
more.
year has moved so fast.
Yeah, we're in December. I'm like, this was sini like it
Tulivuka
feels like
mwaka
last
juzi.
week tulivuka mwaka and now like December again. Yeah.
Wow. So tuliona story yako, but before maybe we get to the whole story and people coming through for you, I would like you share with us your story. Of course, we know you from a very young guy akiwa kwenye media industry, a 19-year-old ako pale, let's know ilikuwaje, your passion for media ilianza wapi?
My passion for media started when I was 16. Growing up as a kid, I wasn't one of those kids who knew what they wanted to become. So it's not like when I was 5 or 6 where I was holding a mic and pretending to be a journalist. For me, between the ages of, let's say 4, when you start having memories, that's when I started school, to the age of 16, I was just focused on being a kid. I was like, I'm a child, I'll do what children do. You go to school, you study. Even in high school, I was like, I'm gonna be something, an engineer or whatever. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But for me, when I was 16, at 16 is when I started taking career seriously, because I was in Form 4. I was like, so now I'm about to leave high school. So what career do I take after this?
You're in Form 4 at 16?
Yes. This was in Form 4.
Nilisoma haraka.
Nilisoma haraka. I thank my parents for, walisema, this kid, let's just let him be. Because I started, showing signs of, kupenda masomo when I was quite young. And they were like, literally, just take him to school and then he'll do the rest. So at that age, I was like, I have a very short period of time to decide what I want to do, because I had, before that, as a child, I didn't know what to do for. Like between 4 and 15, I had no idea what I wanted to become. I was just being a kid.
Actually, most of us who even thought of what you wanted to be, we didn't become.
yeah, even whatever you wanted to become when you were 12 or 13, who becomes that? And so at 16, I started thinking about a career seriously. And for me, back then I was a very very religious person. I was born and raised Seventh-day Adventist. I even went to a Seventh-day Adventist high school, Karura SDA school. I although it was only for my last year, my Form 4 year, but between Form 1 and Form 3, I went to Njiri School, Luko Muranga. You know Njiri? I know.
Kuna baridi.
I know, yeah, kuna baridi huko karibu na Abadeas. It's a beautiful place. It was a beautiful school. That back in the day it was such a huge school. So, but between Form 3 and Form 4, I decided to go to a Seventh-day Adventist school, because in that school, it came a time when the principal was like, I don't want Seventh-day Adventist anymore. In the school, she was like, you guys, no going to church on Saturday. Everybody goes to church on Sunday. So he was called Mr. Giduka. He was very he was very serious about discipline in a school, and he wanted the school to be homogeneous. What everybody had to be doing what everybody is doing at the same time, so they couldn't allow Seventh-day Adventists to be to go for church anymore on Saturday. And I went to him. I told him, I don't feel comfortable having been brought up as a Seventh-day Adventist. I was feeling guilty, and it was pricking my soul, my conscience. I told him, just allow me to go and look for another school. And if I get another school, then if you'll allow me, I'll go. And so he was like, yeah. He told me that like he wasn't even he was like, I know you're not going to get another school. You're getting to Form 4. It's very hard for another school to take you. So he was like, I'll give you a weekend. I'll give you actually 4 days. You go. If you find a school, well and good, I'll let you go. So I did. I went and in 4 days I found Karura Adventist School. Luckily, during that period, it was in August. Uh, one of the board members of Karura SDA had come to our local church in Thika, and my aunt had the contact to the lady. So we called the lady, and she was like, "Yeah, if you wanna come to Karura, then we'll just come. I'll help you pay for your school fees." And that's how she paid for my school fees. Her name is Mrs. Lanana, and she literally supported me for the last year of Form 4. I didn't have to pay school fees. She cleared my school fees, and I went to
Had
school.
trouble to clear the school fees.
Yes, my parents couldn't pay for the school, so I told them, "You guys don't worry. I found someone who's offered to pay for my school fees." Because in Nigeria, I was I was a government sponsored student. I was Most of my fees was being paid by bursary, Thika. So I couldn't moving to a private school. My parents couldn't be able to pay for the private school, so she offered to pay, and that's how I finished my Form 4. And after that, now when I was 16, now when I'm crossing over to go to university, that's when I thought, okay, so what do I do? And one day I was in the library just, thinking about what do I want to do. I was reading the newspapers, trying to see what job can suit me or what career I can take. But I had this love for media. I don't know where it came from. It just happened to be like I was like, these people on TV. I was a good public speaker back then. I was doing series of talks in school. I was hosting. I was not hosting, but I was doing sermon series in school. So I was good at public speaking. So I thought maybe media is an interesting career because I can talk in front of people, and why not do that? At first, I wanted to become a telecommunications engineer because I was doing very well in sciences and math and physics. So I thought maybe engineering will do. But one time I was going through a magazine in the library, and I saw a picture of it was Seventh Day Adventists have this monthly magazine. I don't know, it's a monthly magazine. It's called Adventist World, and so at the back of an Adventist World magazine, or somewhere in the middle of an Adventist World magazine, I saw an ad for a school called Southern Adventist University, and they had a media school, and then they had a studio. I saw the cameras and the studio, and then I was like, I think I'm gonna do this. 'Cause I wanted to be in front of the camera and speak to people, because it seemed like a job that I could do. And I was like, yeah, I think this is who I want to be. And then from there, my mind was like, yes, let's do this. Let's stop with the engineering and the hardware kind of job. Let's do software and talking to people, creating shows and all. I wanted to be a news anchor. So that's what I wanted to be at 16. I was like, yes, this is media, and I'm going to be a news anchor. So when I finished for 4, went home during the December holidays after finishing KCSE. I used to watch a lot of TV because I didn't have anything to do. I mean, you're waiting for the exam results. So I used to watch a lot of TV, and I remember this episode where I saw Willie Straburu being interviewed by what's her name? The Daughters of Zion lady. What's her name? JCC. Kathy, yes, but Reverend Kathy Kuna. Yes, Willie Saburu was on Kathy Kuna's show, and he talked about how he was in Moore University and he was in Moore University Radio, and how he grew from Moore University Radio. So I was like, I want to go to Moore University, and I'm going to go to that radio. So because I loved Willie Straburu. He was one of the people I found, to be very interesting and inspiring. I loved, yeah, he is amazing, and look at what he's done with the media career. I mean, he's a force in the industry. So, people like Willis, Hussein Mohammed, Julie Gishur. I love Julie Gishur. Like Julie Gishur was a character who was bigger than life. I was like, I want to be like this lady. You know, I want to do what this lady's doing. Like in a Janet Mbugua. So then I realized this is what I want to do. So when the exams came, I got an A minus. My parents were like, "We know you want to do journalism, but we feel like an A minus is not going to suit you for journalism. Like, why don't you become a lawyer or a doctor?
This big career.
You know, the big careers that we used to think, okay, this is now what, you know, become a typical lawyer. You know, it's from their generation that is what it meant to make it in life. You know, to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, something like that. But I told them, just give me the chance. I mean, I feel so comfortable doing journalism. I remember we had a fight with my mom and my dad, and we didn't speak for quite a while because they felt like I was being hard-headed. They felt like I wasn't listening to them. But I told them, even if I go to university and do a career and do a degree that I don't want, it's going to be a waste of time. So finally, my dad allowed me to, you know, he just like, yeah, you go do whatever you will do. And my mom was like, okay, fine, you go be a journalist, and we wish you all the best. And they saw me off to university, and the moment I landed in Moy University, one of the first things I wanted to find out was where was Moy University Radio. And it's like God was just guiding my steps through there, because the moment I got into Moy University Radio, it was it's from then it's history, because I felt so at home at Moy University Radio. I used to produce. There was this show called Michipuko ya Habari, which was being done. The producer for that show is called Tony Rongo. He's a good friend of mine. He works for the BBC now. So he took me on. He was like, "Come on this show. You go be looking for stories around university, and then we do a compilation every Friday, or I think it was every Friday, Wednesday. I don't remember when we were posting it, but I used to be part of the show. So I used to go out, look for a story, come back to the studio, voice it, write the script, voice it, and then I'd submit it to Tony, who was the editor of the show, and he'd put it in the show. So it was this radio magazine news show. So they'd cover stories around the university, what students were doing, some of the hottest places to be at, and, you know, like just typical pure student journalism.
Maybe a fast forward. Now that you are out of school, you went to university, and you decided this is what I want, and you went with it, of course. I would like to know, when did you find yourself now to the media industry itself?
It didn't take a long time after that, because that was 2013. In 2015, Nation FM came looking for university radio presenters. And it was then that the school decided that, hey, Kimani has to be on this. And they gave up my name together with another lady. Her name is Atieno Mboya. So we were both paired to represent Moy University in a radio show on Nation FM. It was called Vocal Nation. It was a radio show that brought together university radio presenters, and we were supposed to compete for a chance to get a job at Nation FM. So that's where my media career started. I remember walking into Nation in 2015, around this time in 2015, November, December. I remember getting there, and I saw some of the stars that I had dreamed of working with. Like I remember it's Smriti Vidyarthi who walked into the lobby, and we literally said hi. And when we said hi, and we were waiting to go to the studio, and she said hi to us, and we took a selfie there. And I think I had a moment there where I realized, I think your dreams have just come true. So take this opportunity very seriously. So they allowed us in, and we did our first. It was literally like they just threw us into the deep end. The first thing that we did when we landed at Nation FM was to record a promo for our show. So we were to go on air in about 2 weeks, and we did a promo for our show, because everybody had to do a promo of their own on radio, and we did a promo of our own as the first thing when we got on radio. And from then, I can say it's history, because I felt at home behind the mic.
Okay. So how was it being in the through to the limelight at a young age?
I didn't even consider the limelight. I think I was, now looking back, sometimes I feel like I was a moth circling around a fire. And, but again, I feel like I was, it's home for me because I've had to fame, the conceptualization of fame and what fame does to you and how it shapes you as a person, it came to me way later. In fact, even now, I find it hard to to kind of absorb myself into the the mindset that you're a famous person and you're supposed to act in a certain way. I kind of stay away from that. I don't know. I've been watching people talk about imposter syndrome, and I feel I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, but for me, the work and the fame are separate. So for me, I focus on the work, and the fame is it just comes with being there. I hadn't even conceptualized what it was. So for me, I walked the streets knowing that okay, I'm doing a show on radio, and the moment I met people in university, and because Nation FM closed about 6 months after we joined, they closed down for a while, and we had to go back to school for. I had to go back to school for my 3.1 and 2. So when I went back to school, people started stopping me in the corridors, and they were like, "Hey, Kimani, we had your show," and then I was like, "So that means that what I was doing on radio was successful." So I have always looked at journalism and media and my media career as a point of this is work for me, and I want to get in there and do a perfect interview. I want to get in there and do a perfect show. I want to go on the streets and get that perfect bite. I want to do this. I'm very goal oriented when it comes to media. So the fame and the recognition that comes after that, for me, it's just an add on because I feel the moment I do a good job, I will know it when I leave the set. I want to get in there and share and just produce a magic moment. So being at that age and being in the limelight, I didn't even it's for me it was just like I'm working. So me if, yeah, for me I didn't even realize that this is gonna make you famous and you're gonna have to live with the consequences of that. I didn't have that conceptualization of the whole idea of fame. So for me it's always been it's work for me. It's work for me. I have to get a good bite. I have to I have to tell a good story. I have to make sure that I articulate myself correctly and make sure that I bring out the points that are supposed to be brought out in that particular moment. So that's how fame has always been. I have always conceptualized fame and recognition. Yes.
Okay. Most people, especially when your story came up a few months ago, recognize you sana from a Citizen. Maybe you can tell us briefly, how did you land the job there and now what happened?
How I landed my job at Citizen. I was at NTV before that.
Yes.
And what I was doing at NTV, and this is what I say, if you focus on the work, focusing on the work that you're doing, it shields you from a lot of trouble that celebrity gets you into. If you focus on celebrity and fame, you can't please everybody, and it's not something that you can it's something that it's fleeting. It's an illusion in a way, because if you focus on it's a consequence of something. It's not a product by itself. It's a product of your work. So for me, having focused on being a good presenter on TV and doing the best that I could do in that particular moment, it earned me that position because my former boss at NTV, Linus Kaikai, he's the guy. I usually tell my close friends and people that if it were not for Linus Kaikai and people like Larry Madowo, nobody would have known who I was, because they took me and they coached me. They're like, this is how you present yourself on TV. This is what you do. This is what you say. Don't have many audio fillers. Appear confident. Look like this. Sharpen your skills at presenting. And it's from that grueling hard work that when Linus Kakai went to he moved from Nation to Citizen. He just called me and he was like, "Yeah, there's an opportunity for you here. Come and do whatever is it that you do, your magic. Come and do it here." And even when I went to Citizen, I wasn't hired as a TV presenter. I was hired. I wasn't on TV. I wasn't hired for Citizen TV. I started I started at Viusasa. There was a project called Kenya in 5. They wanted to have. In fact, when Viusasa was starting, because at that time, Viusasa was still in its infant stages, and so they called me to do a short news show called Kenya in 5. So we would do it every day, kind of highlighting what is the news of that day in about 5 minutes. So that's what I was called to do. But then a few months later, about 2-3 months later, they stopped doing it, and I was now reassigned to TV. They were like, "I think you're just meant for TV. Just go to TV." So I remember the traffic report that I was doing on Citizen. It was Patrick Igunza who started the traffic report, by the way. He's the one who did the first episode. And I think he had so many other engagements, so he was like, "I don't think I'm going to be able to be waking up that early in the morning. Find somebody else to do." And so they look for somebody in the office. They were like, why don't you give Kimani that bit? So I was given the traffic report bit. They were like, "Okay, so this is what you do. In the morning, report at 6. By 6, you need to be live on the road, so you have to wake up very early and give us a traffic report every morning." So I was like, yes, this is what I like doing. So finally, I was like, let me get on TV. And shortly after doing the traffic report, more work came, and we started when they rebranded the whole news. The news team and the news broadcasting and everything, when they rebranded the whole, in fact, they got new studios. They built new studios and they relaunched the whole news programming. I was given now Broken News. It's Wahiga Mora and Jackie Maribe approached me at that time, and they were like, "Yeah, Kimani, we want you to do something for Friday night TV. Would you like?" We sat down and we brainstormed about ideas, and they were like, "Can you do this? Something like this?" We were like, "Yes, let me do something like that." And it was like, Broken News was born out of there. And I started, so now I kept having more work, and I was able to maintain, like, I would do the traffic report in the morning, do a story at 9 a.m. Before the show ends, before daybreak the show ends. And I would also do Broken News for Friday nights. And so the moment I realized, okay, I have more time for my workday, producers from Inoro came and they told me, "Kimani, can you speak Kikuyu? Can we give you a show in Kikuyu?" But like, yes. The show in Kikuyu is called Wadhiko, and it was Washira Ororo's idea. So he was like, "Can you do this? Go on the streets and kind of find out from people, like, what are you doing today?" The concept was stand in the streets and ask people their errands. What are your errands for the day? And it became a hit, and I found myself succeeding in both Citizen TV and Inoro TV because a lot of people liked what I was doing. And so that is how I landed at Citizen TV, and that is how most people came to recognize me from those shows that I was doing. Yes.
So let's talk about now you disappearing. Hatuoni Kimani tena. What exactly happened? Did you resign the job, or you stopped the job because of the illness, or what exactly happened?
Those two things overlapped. Okay. My illness and me quitting, they overlapped. Sometimes I'm unable to find. I think I'm unable to find the nuance between me being manic and me exiting from Citizen TV. So those two things happened at the same time, and I feel like both had merit because at one point I felt like I had taken on so many projects. I was doing the traffic report in the morning. I was doing a story for the 9 a.m. bulletin. I was doing Broken News. I was doing Hot Happy Hour, the show that used to air every Friday. There was a show called Nganoshadu the Oninoro. There was a show called Wadhieko. So I was doing about six things in a week. So, and when you take on so much, you do it for quite a while, you tend to get burnout. Because even when I felt burnt out, and it became even literally so hard for me to go on holiday, because I was like, who's gonna do Broken News? Nobody was going to accept doing Broken News, because it's like you have the way you present Broken News it's so personalized to the way you do it. Like the audience is used to you doing it, so nobody was willing to do that. If it was the other shows that I was doing on Inoro and on radio, you're like, you've your personality is brought into your work, and so a lot of people find it like it's only you. It was hard to replace, or hard to find a placement of somebody who could do that. So after a while, I realized that I'm so burnt out, and I started talking to the HR, and I told her, I think I'm not feeling well, and I started having episodes of breakdowns. I started becoming so irritable, and what I didn't
Before
know,
you didn't have.
before that I didn't have, but in hindsight now, looking back from the vantage point of time, I can tell that at that particular moment it was the bipolar now coming up. Because at one point, at that age, I was 22, 23, 20, between 22, around 22, 23, 24. That's when the wheels for bipolar started coming off for me. And 2019 and 2020, for about 6 months, between August of 2019 and February and March, actually, March of 2020, that is a period of time when I think that was a time when the bipolar showed up and the bipolar came, because I started behaving erratically. I mean, I went on spending sprees. I could, like do things that were out of character. And, I started feeling, sometimes you feel more important than you actually are. And it's not pride, but it's the illness in you that makes you perceive yourself as more important than you are. And for me, I'm not being brought up from a very humble family. I'm not a braggadocious person, so I'm not the kind of people who will go and spend the money just for show. So what I find to be my go-to way of showing my, like kind of showing off, is work. Taking on work that other people aren't able to do. And so for me, I was like, look at all of these things that I'm doing. So I started feeling, kind of more important. And I'm like, okay, you want a show done? Literally get me in the room with your team. I'll draft something for you. And in a week, you will have a brilliant show. So that kind of elevated the side of, it's called grandiose. And I started feeling like, well, just a slightly more important. It's just feeling more important than you actually are. So
Did you realize?
yes.
Did you realize that you are actually getting an illness, Ama?
No.
You thought you were just being
For me, life was just normal. And what I'm telling you now is something that I have taken hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours thinking about. I mean, looking back, trying to see where the wheels came off. Because when you have bipolar, I was actually having a conversation with someone on my TikTok live yesterday, and they were talking about how they slid into bipolar. And for them, it was they said that they woke up one day and they wanted to speak to Professor Magoha. And he's a student from Kabarak University. And he was like, he just woke up one day and he was like, I want to speak to Magoha as a student. I mean, it's not like he felt like, and he told his parents, fly me out to Nairobi. I want to go speak to Professor Magoha. So that's how the illness comes. You start feeling more important than you actually are. And now what I'm telling you, I didn't realize at that time. So it's only by looking back and assessing myself, and I've been doing a process of self-healing, journaling, and all of those things, trying to find out where the wheels came off so that I don't go back. So looking back now I can tell between August of 2019 and March of 2020, that is when life, now the bipolar kind of showed up. It was like, oh, so you yeah, you kind of start. It's a slow process. At first, you feel you you go to work and or you're on social media and you look at a picture of yourself and you're like, hey, I think I'm the shit. And then from then you're like, so whatever your brain conceptualizes to you, whatever. This is actually I've come to learn that bipolar is actually, you can actually use bipolar to your advantage. You only have to be very disciplined, and it humbles you, because it will, it's either you are as good as you think you are, or you've just lost your mind. So for you to balance between you're as good as you think you are, and on the other side is you have lost your mind. So there's a very thin line between those two things when you have bipolar. So you have to be very careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you started the illness. I would like to know, when did it get worse? And now you don't have job. You're really ill, and until now you came out and asked for help.
Me coming out and asking for help was 2 years after my battle with bipolar. I was sick for 2 years. For 2 years, people don't realize. You know when you're on social media and you see me, you see me today asking for help. You look back, you realize like Kimani hasn't. Previous to the post that I put on that particular Saturday. It was on 27th of September. Prior to that, I had been away from Instagram for more than a year. I hadn't posted anything.
Yeah, that's
for
why
Instagram.
people say that you
For more
like
than a year.
resurfaced.
Yes.
You had gone.
I had completely disappeared.
Yeah.
And for me, the line between you're as good as you think and you've lost your mind, it disappeared. And it took me 2 years to be able to now come back and now find myself. Because in 2021, when I left my job I left I left Citizen in 2020, and I joined Kenyans shortly after that. Kenyans.co.ke. I joined them shortly after that, and I worked there for a year. Now this is since September of 2021 and September of 2023. That period, 2 years, 2 solid years, I was in probably the worst place anyone can be as a human being. And for me, I've come to believe that this is true. I don't fear death anymore, because there are things in this life that are far worse than death. And one of them is losing your mind. I know that because I lost my mind completely, out of my mind. I mean, there's this particular day,
So when did that happen? Which year?
2021.
That's when you lost your mind, like
Yes.
completely.
That's when I lost it completely, and it
How
took.
do you remember it?
It's healing, because you see you're sick.
Okay.
You're sick. It's the bipolar that grips you. Now it has a strong hold on you. So since that time, 2021 in September, and one of the things that happened to me was I was unable to work. I didn't know what was wrong with me. All I wanted to do was stay at home and smoke weed.
So you're still at Kenya's?
I left. I had left.
Left.
I wasn't smoking when I was at work. I wasn't smoking weed when I was at work. But when I left work and I was like, let me go out and just... So for me, life was smoke weed, get high and high, keep getting high, because
So you got demotivated from working.
I got demotivated. Yes, I couldn't stand reporting to work. I couldn't stand reporting to anyone. I was like, why are you telling me what to do? I don't want to I don't want to have a boss, because I had gotten to a point where I felt like, it, as again I say, the line between how good you are and you've just lost your mind, it's very blurred. So and you can imagine now that line being blurred for 2 years. Now I had to be taken to hospital. I had to be institutionalized. And
So how did your family got to know about the news? Were you saying, are you still staying with your family members?
I was living with my mom. I was living with my mom.
All along.
Not all along. I had my own place, and up until November of 2021, I had paid rent for it for like a month ahead. So but that was before I was taken to hospital. So when I was taken to hospital, the landlord was like, I think he's paid his rent a month ahead, and I don't think he's gonna be back from hospital in a month. He might stay there for a while. So my mom took all my stuff, took it to her house in Thika. So I was living with my mom after I came out of hospital, because I was hospitalized on the 19th of November 2021, and that was the second phase of hospitalization, because I had, when I was working at Kenya's, I didn't have any manic episodes. But after that, I started smoking weed, and weed did in 1 hour what cigarettes, alcohol, and moguka would do in 6 months. So I completely lost it, was hospitalized in November of 2021, came out of hospital in January of 2022, that is last year. And then again in last year, stayed out of hospital for about a period of 5-6 months. Then I went back again in. And then from there, I spent about 9 months in hospital.
So the first time you go to the hospital, did they tell you what exactly you're battling with? Did they realize that you have bipolar and mental disorder, or they just kept trying?
They kept trying to see what exactly was wrong with me, because a mental illness it's not easy for any doctor to tell what mental illness you're suffering from, because the symptoms overlap. You might find somebody with schizophrenia is having delusions of grandeur. Somebody with bipolar mood disorder is having the same. Somebody with drug-induced psychosis is having the same. And the spectrum is quite wide. So somewhere in the middle, before they get you a proper diagnosis, it's going to take some time. But for me, they did it this year in about March. Was it March or February? February of this year, that's when the doctors came to me, and they were like, I think after assessing you and after from your file, because my file at Madare is so huge, it's big. so I've been treated.
So all the treatment have been in Madare.
Yeah, I've been treated by like 20 doctors at Madare, different doctors, because there are different psychiatrists in Madare, and sometimes they're like, oh, who's gonna take on Kimani? You see him now that I'm a regular patient there, so they kept trying some medications, and this one's don't work, so they put you on other medications, and until they were like, I think your problem is bipolar, and now from here you should take it seriously. You have bipolar mood disorder, and you should take it seriously. No drugs of any kind to you, no consciousness altering substance for you. You have to stay cold sober for the rest of your life, or it's gonna come back.
Yeah. So before maybe hii time yenye umetuambia you started seeing the signs of the disorder, were you using drugs, or you started using them later when you even stopped working?
I was still looking back, I can say that I don't think I was a drug addict.
Okay.
Because even the time I was in hospital, it's only one doctor out of the like 20 that I have seen who recommended rehab once. The rest were like, your problem is not drugs. Your problem is you have an underlying condition, and it's what keeps you coming back. Because even the amount of drugs that you use is very small. Like I would smoke a blunt with this size, and I would be in hospital for 3 months. It would put me in hospital for 3 months. So they were like, your problem is not drugs. Your problem is that you're hard-headed and you're bipolar. when we tell you not to take drugs of any kind, you don't listen. So you keep coming back here. So even the healing point for me was when I finally decided this year I decided in July, around
This year.
yeah, July of this year, I decided that I'm not going to be taking any more drugs. Like the 16th of July was the last time I said I had smoked weed on the 16th of July, and my dad was like, "You see, you smoked weed, and now I have to take you back to hospital because now you can't even put
So you
together."
were coming out of the hospital, you try again.
Yes. I go to hospital. The same day after coming out of hospital, I'm back to the trap house. I'm doing drugs, and my parents are like, "We told you, stop doing these things." So now we have to take you back, and it was painful for them to watch, and even for my friends, for them to even get to the point of where they were like, "Kimani, don't be the boy who cried wolf, because you're gonna turn into that. Like we're gonna withdraw our energy from you because we keep helping you and you keep going back to the drugs." They're like, yeah, you have to learn your lessons. So for me in July, I was like, I don't think anybody's gonna help me. Anybody that I know is gonna help me. All my friends are gonna literally say, "This is another point where you tell us, oh, I'm gonna change," and then you won't change. So I decided that I'm gonna be cold sober, like no drugs of any kind. And from then, that's when everything started looking up for me. I got my mind back, because when you put yourself in that mind frame, like, okay, so this is what the drugs were doing to me, psychologically, your brain begins to now see conceptualize itself as a drug-free brain, and then from then it will be easy for you to know, oh, this is a psychotic thought, oh, this is not true, this is just grandiose, or this is just you being this is you being psychotic. Your mind literally just starts to calculate those things and tells you, okay, this is what you need to cut, this is what you need to work on. Yeah, you have a bit of childhood trauma here, you might want to deal with that as you journal and become better. But it's a process of hard work. It is hard work. Then for health, like, I have come to appreciate my health such that I take it very seriously, because for missing out on work, on the joy of work for 2 years, as someone who is demonically conscientious, like, I think being out of work for 2 years is like, it's death for me. And now I'm like, in life, I don't even fear death. I'm like, how about you losing your mind? And you will see how rough that is. It's like, you will wish you were dead, and you're not dead. You will live a life where death is better. You might even get to the point where you want to kill yourself, because you're like, maybe death is better than this. And that's why people commit suicide, because there are things in this life that are far worse than death, and your role is to make sure that you don't get to those things.
So how are your parents, how did they react to seeing you lose sanity? The family members, the friends, from the sharp guy we used to see on TV, now to somebody who has lost their mind.
It was hard. I remember my best friend. I was hanging out with my best friend last weekend, and I could see in his face the way he was just so grateful that his best friend is back. In fact, we were having a conversation at his balcony. We were just sitting there and just reminiscing of what life has taught us over the last few years. And it hit me that when I was suffering, they were the most affected, because they literally could not take it that I was in hospital and unable to be a functional human being. They were devastated, all of them. My dad, my mom, my sisters, my cousins, my workmates, my former colleagues, my friends, my best friend, everyone. Everyone was so devastated by the fact that part of the reason why I wasn't healing is because I was making decisions that were counterproductive to my growth and to my well-being. And them watching me go down that path, like, because they know me, they've seen me grow. These are people who are with me before the fame and before the big paychecks started coming. And for them, they were like, we are just going to stay silent and hope that a miracle happens. And thank God the miracle happened, because me recovering was literally a miracle, because it had gotten to that point. 2 years is a long time. 2 years is a long, long time to be ill. And you can imagine, in 2 years, I was hospitalized 8 times in 2 years. In hospital, just again, we're taking Kimani to Madare again. Like, he's back to smoking weed again. I mean, now I look back and I see how much they were affected by that. And I'm like, I don't want to fail you guys. It's part of the reason why my sobriety journey has become very strong. I don't want to fail them again.
Okay, maybe a quick one. All the times that now you're hospitalized, you're with your parents, who is taking care of the bills? Do you have maybe some insurance when you're working, or now you are burdened to the parents and the relatives?
Well, at some point, I had a bit of savings. Used that until they were exhausted, but that was like the first 6 months after leaving my job at Kenyans. Then from then, I was literally depending on my parents, because I went back to live with them, so they were paying the bills, you know. But for hospital, my friends came together, and they actually it's only one friend who just decided to pay for my NHIF for like 9 months ahead, so that, because Mathare is a very good hospital, and all you need is NHIF. It's literally, NHIF will pay for your bills at Mathare. It's one of the things that I find, one of the government services that I find to be very effective, because mental health, when you're admitted at Mathare with a mental health condition, NHIF will take care of that bill. And it's very encouraging to see that. So at least I wasn't a burden to the point where they couldn't be able to manage. I was only a burden to the point that I had refused to be actively involved in my healing journey, and they had to be the ones who appeared to be more concerned about my well-being than I was. So that's to the point of which I was a disappointment to them.
So now it's July, you've decided that you're going to actively be involved in your healing journey, and you're coping up, and now a few months ago, you come out on social media. How was it? How did you come to that decision? Like, you know what, I'm going to go back to social media, and I'm going to tell them the truth that I've not been okay, I've been homeless and everything.
Yeah. So for me, I decided to do that because I had no choice. And if I had a choice, I would have taken it. Because before I went live, before I went public with my story, I had talked to all the people that I knew. I had talked to media executives. They were like, Kimani, you know how it is here. We don't have new jobs, and that is going to be hard for you to get a job, because the media industry is not doing very well right now. So I was like, going back to media is not the easiest option that I had. So I was like, if I don't come up with public with my story, if I don't go public with my story and ask people to help me now be able to, do what come back on my feet and, kind of produce content in a different way than I was doing, I will be lost. I could easily go back to depression and drugs, because being broke is actually one of the biggest contributors to depression. I think that is overlooked. I think not doing well financially is one of the reasons why a lot of people get depressed, because it takes away, especially if you're not everybody gets depressed when they're broke, by the way. There are people who for them life is okay. Even they're just like, I might not have a lot, but I'm thankful for the little that I have. The people who get depressed by them not having money or not being able to make money as they used to are conscientious people. These are people who are used to working very hard and they're used to earning money. So when it gets to that point where you don't have that money and you don't seem to have a straightforward way of getting yourself back to getting the money, you will become depressed very fast. In fact, you will, it will not take you so long before your world falls apart if you don't get back to where you're supposed to be financially and economically. So and I found that it's not everybody who gets depressed by being broke. Yeah.
So when you came out with your story, how was the feedback? Of course, there are many people were willing to help.
Yeah.
We saw TikToker Nyako alikama hapa akakusaidia. How was it?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I am forever indebted to Nyako for helping me and coming and mobilizing Kenyans to help me. I have met people on the street who told me, we saw you in Nyako's live. We were like, we love you and we believe in you. And for me, I thought the reason why people found it easy to help was because I had a genuine problem. And I think people now can see right through you when you're asking for help. I think people have Kenyans, and this is what I love about Kenyans. Kenyans have a BS detector. Like they will tell somebody who's genuine from somebody who's not. And for me, I genuinely had a problem. I didn't have any option. That was the last option in my book. That after this is Plan Z. Because before Plan Z worked, I had tried out Plan A to Y, and after trying all of those things and them not working, I was like, this is the last thing that I will do. I will take a phone, record a video, and post it on my social media, shouting into the void and hoping that somebody comes out and helps me. Because I've seen people do that before. It started with the Mosh. And you can tell that Kenyans are very generous. Yeah. And I didn't want to be a disappointment. So I was like, I think if I do this, then the pressure will be even twice as much. If people help me, the pressure will be twice as much on me to, one, stay sober, and two, have something to show for what they have contributed for me. And so I was like, am I able to do that? I was like, definitely. Because all I needed was work. I had so many ideas even when I was in hospital healing and trying to organize my life. I sat down and I used to journal a lot. So I would go to the office, to the nursing office, and I would ask them to give me, empty papers to write on. And I would sit down and write my life, like, this is what I want to be. I don't want to ever do drugs again. So what will I do? I will stay away from places where I can do drugs and all of these things. And so by the time I was now recording that video, I was like, if people help me, I'm not going to disappoint them. And to help me, they did. And look at me now. I'm like, I have a platform now. I started a YouTube channel and
You have a new show.
Yeah, I have a new show on my YouTube channel, and it's growing. And I'm also doing other things as well. I have a company. It's called XDS Marketing. I started it because this is something that I'm passionate about, creating content for brands and organizations and all of that. Content is one thing that it's like food. That's why you and I are so lucky with what we do, because content is like food. People watch a good video today, tomorrow they want to see another good video, the next day they want to see another good video. So the demand for content is something, it's the demand for content today is like the demand for food. It's like content creators, I wish content creators would know that, because a lot of people put pressure on themselves. It's like, it's just, there's so much you can do. Don't close yourself off, or don't feel disappointed. There's so much you can do out there, and people will always want to see content. Good content. I mean, it's food now, because people buy bundles every day to go on social media. Everybody's on their phone. It's like now life has become a lot better in the last 20 years. I mean, and people have more free time, people have money, and I've seen that because people get on TikTok, they will buy you gifts. I'm one of the people who there's one particular Instagram, not Instagram Live, one particular TikTok where people raised about 80 G's for me in like 10-15 minutes. And I was like, people actually, it was my first ever TikTok live. When I went on TikTok live, everybody was like, yes, Kimani, welcome on TikTok. We're welcoming you here. You can create content. You can, this is a space. And they've given me a platform. And people are like, okay, now we're allowing you into our lives. As now we've seen your journey. You're now no longer in TV. Now you're in the content creation business. And now I'm at a place where I can say that I'm being productive. Every day I wake up, I want to find the next good idea. I want to film. I have filming equipment. I have my diaries. I have my books, and I can get down and structure ideas. I'm able to meet clients. I already have a client, my first client for the company, and we're working towards developing content for them. And I'm happy. I'm happy, and I'm so grateful that I made decisions that were going to help me, and the people around me and my family and my friends are now in a position where they can say that we are proud of you. I think every time somebody says, Kimani, I'm proud of you, it validates my healing process and my journey of healing, and I'm so grateful.
What about right now? How your parents are feeling seeing you back on your feet?
They're very happy. My dad is usually one of the first people who goes on YouTube to watch my show once it launches, and he gives me feedback. Like this Sunday, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was very good of you." He calls me immediately. I release a video, and he's like, "I'm seeing what you're doing, and I'm really happy for you."
So you're no longer staying with them?
No, I'm no longer staying with them. I found my own place. I'm also trying to help my sister get herself back on her feet, because she got pregnant, and the baby daddy decided to become a deadbeat dad. So now I was like, whatever I can do to help her, get back on her feet. And she's a fashion designer. She does some amazing work, and now I'm happy to be able to support her get back on her feet. Yes.
Okay, maybe taking you back, you gave us a story when you were starting on how you grew up as an SDA follower, or how do I say it?
A Seventh-day Adventist.
Exactly, Seventh-day Adventist. All along, hadi inafika mahali, you tell the principal that you're going to transfer from Njiri to another school just because of the church. But there's this statement that you made about SDA a while back, and actually, juzi venye umekuja kuomba msaada, people kept, there's some people who still remember it, that you said that people who are in SDA, it's sort of a cult or something. Does it mean you reached a point in life and you got tired of the religion, or what happened?
Funny enough, right now I'm not a religious person, and
At all?
not let me say this. Let me say this. I think religion is very good, but as somebody who has experienced mental illness, you will find that religion is one of those things that even doctors will advise you to not overdo or don't do too much of it.
Okay.
Because for me, I just found in my healing journey, I found out that it's only rebellion and pride and those things that you think people who are not religious are, until it happens to you. Because for me, one of the things that I thought, or one of the delusions that I had, especially during the last phase of my illness when I was a Catholic, was that God was talking to
So you
me.
transformed from being a Seventh Day.
I went from Seventh Day Adventist. I became a Catholic,
Okay.
and then now I would say I'm back to agnosticism, generally, because as a measure of, or as a way of staying, for me personally, staying sober and staying sane, because yes, as I was saying, one of the things that I was going through during my psychotic phase is that I thought that God was speaking to me, you know? And they'll tell you this when you go to psych ward. Yes, yes, and yes. I thought that God was speaking to me, and I thought I had access to heaven. I thought I had special access to heaven. I mean, being a Catholic, and you attend mass every day. I was at some point I was a daily mass goer. It was calling it DMG. I was a daily mass goer. I was doing my prayers every week. So you cleansing your soul of all kinds of sin, and you feel closer to God. So you can imagine now me having a mental illness that tends to tell you that you are closer to God than you think. I was like, well, I thought that God was speaking to me, and a lot of what I was doing, I thought it was coming from God. But when I went to hospital and talked to a doctor about it, they were like, Kimani, you're just psychotic. That's what is happening to you. So you're just delusional. So for me, the line between faith and delusion became so blurred that I decided, okay, let me pull back from it. Let me just pull back from it for, let me say, 5-10 years. And
But that is now that you've known your journey and what you've been dealing with.
Yes.
But back then, you made a statement about SDA. Does it mean you had started seeing it, just that it was not clear, maybe?
no. At that point, I mean, I was with my uncle. My uncle is one of the people. One of my uncles is he's one of the most serious people I know. And he was like, you saying that SDA is a cult is one of those things that you shouldn't have said. Even Catholicism is a cult. We still follow it. It's like, so you know you know that, because it's weird. Because if if you look at it from a medical point of view, like spending time in the psych ward has taught me that anything that I don't see and touch, and something that I don't have evidence for, I'm not going to be so much invested in it. And for me, I started noticing a lot of gaps in religion, and I was like, in all honesty, I think it's something that is not going to work for me now. Let me be in touch with that human part of me that tells me, be a good human being. And I think that is more productive, because, okay, what is being a good human being? Being a good human being is taking your meds, because you're not going to be able to support your sisters and your family if you're not going to take your meds. And because you have a condition, you have a brain condition that actually makes you delusional. So it's like, the more you allow yourself to be, the more you entertain the things that incline more towards the side of fiction and things that are not beneficially true to you, the more you will start regressing towards the illness. So for me, it's a matter of caution that I have stopped becoming religious. And it's funny, because I did this podcast. I did my last, I did a podcast last year talking about it. And at that time I was Catholic, and I did a whole podcast explaining why I had come from SDA to Catholicism. And maybe I'll do another one. I think this is a subject that will take time to talk about. I'll do another one explaining why I am not a religious person anymore, and why that doesn't work for me. And a lot of that has to do with me having gone through mental illness and having had a lot of religious delusions, and now seeing that if I go back to religion, for me, it's like it's one of my biggest triggers. I might regress back towards delusion, being delusional and being psychotic. Yes.
So maybe could we say you are a believer but not a religious person? Or?
Yes, I'm a believer. I believe in I believe in the highest good. I believe that every day you should wake up and try to be a better human being than you were yesterday. If everybody woke up and they were trying to be a better human being than they were the previous day, we wouldn't have a lot of fights. Because what has caused a lot of fights and a lot of disagreements and a lot of toxic, non-productive conversations these days is because people want to compare themselves with other people, forgetting that every human experience is different and unique. So what works for me may not work for you. What works for Eve may not work for Kimani.
Yes.
And if I see this a lot, in highly competitive fields, people saying, I want to do better than this person, I want to do better than this person. No, I'm like, no. How about you focus on what you're doing? Yeah. How about you wake up and focus on, I want my next video to be better than my previous video. Not somebody else's, because somebody else is you don't know what set of rules they are playing by at a personal level. And so you're much better off playing with yourself and being in competition with yourself, becoming a better human being with yourself.
Thank you so much. Hey, it's been a long one. Thank you so much, Kimani, for joining us. And maybe quickly, ambia wa Kenya kitu. It will be very bad if you close this video without you saying something to them for coming through for you when you really needed them.
Yes. I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who contributed towards my Kimani getting back on his feet fund. I really appreciate it. For those of you who sent me even as little as $5, somebody did send me as little 5 shillings the other day, and I was like, thank you so much. It helped me see that the gesture is like, I have 10 shillings, I will split 5 with you, or I have this small thing and I will share with you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will be forever indebted to you for helping me get back on my feet and helping me become a human being again.
Wow, thank you so much, Kimani. I really appreciate as well for the opportunity. And also, guys, before I forget, we've been filming this video at Bespoke City exclusive. They are located in town. In case you're looking for amazing suits, amazing gowns, amazing dresses, this is the best place to be. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, Kimani. As I've said, I really appreciate for your time. And guys, all we can do to support Kimani is to click the link I'm gonna pin down below. We go to his channel, we watch his amazing work, we subscribe. That's the only way right now that we can be able to support him. Anyway, guys, it has been the Mungai Eve Show. In case you're watching this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We meet in the next video. Bye bye.